What is up, fellow nerds, and welcome to Not Your Status Quo. Tonight, we're talking Invincible, Episode 7, What Have I Done? But before we get into all of that fun, Dave, Doug, how's it going, gentlemen?
Well, Keith, I could say at this moment I am fan freaking tastic, but it's been an up and down week for me. I've had a lot of personal things happen, and well, to before I get anything lighthearted in here, I wanted to dedicate tonight's show to one of our subscribers, and a good friend of mine who passed away this week. His name was Doug Helmling. He watched us all the time. He would catch my bands playing whenever I went to Saginaw, and it was funny because I come off stage in between sets and we talk about the band for like, I don't know, 10 seconds, and then it would just be all comics. So yeah, he was a lot of fun. I've known him for 42 years. Great guy, and I know a lot of my friends are missing him too. So this is for Doug. So
He was always
other than
active on
that,
our socials with us. I mean,
oh
I
yeah,
never met the guy, but he seemed like a great dude, and he definitely will be missed.
yeah, yeah. And I had to learn another little tangent. I had to learn a song this week from one of my bands, and it was called "We All Die Young" from the Rockstar soundtrack. And if you listen to it, it just has that feeling. It just got to me a couple of times while I was trying to learn it, and I did. I just had to set it down. Not that me and Doug hung out all the time. It's just it's you know it's the friendship. It was more. You don't have to see him all the time to be a good friend, is what I'm trying to say. So we'll miss him.
As you get
Um,
older and lives get busy, you don't see his friends as much, but, I have friends like that. They call and you pick up just like that when you see them, and it sounds like that's what Doug was.
yeah, he was a good guy. So I hope you guys are doing a little bit better than that. How you doing, Doug?
Well, Dave, let me tell you. For now, I'm outstanding. But yeah, like you, when you told us about that, just kind of pair what Keith said. Yeah, he was very active in our socials. That's why when you mentioned it, I knew exactly what you were talking about. And yeah, it is. I'm glad that you're dedicating tonight's stream to that. It's awesome. Um, gonna miss him. It's difficult to come across not only good friends like that share, in the same things that we all love and love to talk about, but for us as kind of a smaller up and coming, trying to get up their YouTube channel, it's also it's awesome to find fans like that are dedicated and are interacting with us and want to watch what we're putting out. So yeah, definitely will be missed, and it is very sad to see somebody who I think we're all very much going to miss having around. And yeah, truth to the song. Sometimes people do die too damn young, man. Sucks. But not trying to turn this whole thing into a downer. Hey Keith, how are you?
Well, gentlemen, I'm tremendous. Much like you, Doug will definitely be missed. He was a great dude, and we're gonna have the best stream possible tonight in honor of him. And we are talking about Invincible, so gentlemen, should we get into it?
I
Do
think
it.
so.
Because after a couple less than stellar episodes, I really enjoyed this episode. I don't think I was ready for the brutality and just what was going on. I mean, basically, Angstrom sends all of his Invincible variants to destroy Earth and basically make Mark look bad in the GDA, the Guardians. All reverse heroes are just being decimated by Invincibles all over the place. Eve ends up getting her leg broken and, pretty gravely injured. Oliver's fighting. Rex sacrifices himself. Darkwing pulls one of the marks into the I forget what he calls it.
Shadowverse.
Dark Zone or something,
Yeah.
the Shadow Realm.
Yep, and is
Yeah.
presumed dead. I mean, the Immortal
No
gets
one's
his head
dead in
ripped
this show.
off. Kate is destroyed. Samson and Shapesmith are mortally wounded. I mean, I was like, Jesus, they are going back to the way we've been used to watching Invincible. They were not pulling any punches.
My first thought when I was watching all this go down, I was thinking exactly like that. Yeah, they're going back to the old days of Invincible. And the first episode that sprung to mind was when they had that big battle against Battle Beast or whatever his name is called.
Yeah, Battle Beast.
Yeah, because he like destroyed all of them. I mean, it was not an easy fight to win. So yeah, it was kind of like that, and it was definitely a bit of a return to form because you're right. The past couple of episodes that we were talking about, that we were reviewing, it was almost like a slog trying to come up with like even what's next because they were making it difficult to care. You know, we're watching these episodes and it was like, okay, I guess that was fine. You know, I think the worst one was that double episode where they presented us with something that could have been better, and then they're like, yeah, but we're gonna waste half of your time with this BS story that you don't care about. And it just seemed like it was downhill after that until finally we got this episode, and yeah, it was finally pretty darn good. I wasn't sure exactly how they were going to use, or if they were going to use Angstrom Levy again, just because they seem to be kind of swapping around different stories from the comics or reworking them entirely. So I wasn't sure what direction they were going to go in, or if they were going to bring him back. And so when they were setting up, oh, hey, it turns out he's still the big bad again. And, oh, he's gathering up a bunch of Invincibles. I was like, oh, all right. Well, what are they going to do with this? And then they kind of dropped it for a minute, and it was kind of hanging out in the background. And so my initial thought, if you guys go back and watch our older video, I thought, okay, so this is going to be the big thing. They're going to make this the finale, and they're probably going to drag it out over the next couple of episodes. So we're not going to see any more from Omni-Man or Alan or anything like that. And I was wrong, and I'm actually kind of glad I was wrong.
That's what I was going to wonder, is that, are Alan and Omni-Man going to show up and assist in this battle in the next episode?
See, I don't think they
Because
will. Only because I
No?
feel like they're going back to the Coalition of Planets. And I think Mark's on his own for this. And obviously, I mean, it's almost like I've been comparing this to other comics, all the time. It's like, oh, this is their Days of Future Past. This is this. This almost feels like this is their Civil War. But instead of everyone being divided, they're so injured. I mean, there's no one really there to help. So Mark is going to be on his own, and I think, eventually the Coalition of Planets is going to learn. I think Mark is going to defeat Conquest somehow, maybe barely, and then they're going to hear about it, and maybe knowing the Viltrumites are going to respond in kind to Earth, they're going to send, Omni-Man, Alan, and everything else the Coalition of Planets have to basically make this sort of last stand against the pure-blooded Viltrumites when they come to Earth.
See, that's why Mark, when he says at the end, all I want to do is hit something as hard as I can. Now, if he's ever been holding back, he's not going to do that against the Viltrumite. So that's the kind of battle we're going to see, and that's why I was wondering, because I know he's getting stronger, but still he's not a full-fledged Viltrumite. That's why he might need Alan and Omni-Man there.
He's also still not. There's no way he's going to be as strong as Conquest either, because if we go back to what Omni-Man said about Viltrumites, is it doesn't matter whether you're mixed or not. It's how old you are, because apparently the older you get, the stronger the Viltrumite blood is. And so we know that as Mark ages, he'll eventually get stronger, bulkier, able to withstand more. And Conquest, I mean, I'm guessing looking at him, but he looks like he's been around for a while.
A little bit.
Yeah, something happened to one of his eyes. I don't know what.
A cat.
Yeah, cat scratch. Just like Nick Fury.
I mean, then we see, and this episode also did a few, instead of, Angstrom going back to the technicians, and instead of them being like, okay, well, actually first, he meets up with all the Invincibles, and they're like, hey, we want our worlds to take over. All those things you promised us, let us go now. And well, he promised me, mom from this world to take back to mine. And they basically turn on Angstrom, and he sends them to the far future where Mark and him were when he thought he killed him in that last episode. And then, he gets his arm cut off fighting with Mark, and he goes back and demands the technicians fix him. And they're like, nah, you're working for us now. So it's like the thing that comics always do, which I love, Angstrom leaves, and now there's going to be someone probably worse and, colder and wanting more destruction or having a better plan than him with him on their side. And so, he gets through Conquest, the technicians and Angstrom are going to bring something worse next time. It's just, keeps building on it and making it tougher and tougher for Mark and, the heroes of Earth. And I'm here for it.
Well, it does make you wonder, if Angstrom Levy is going to come back, which I'm not going to spoil anything from the comics or anything like that, but so if in the show they decide to make him come back, it does make me wonder if he's as smart as he's supposed to be. What is he going to do to combat invincible strength? Like, we already know that he tried bringing together all these multiversal invincibles, and that only worked so much. Like, there's only so far that would take him. He still himself doesn't really have the appropriate strength to deal with invincible. And we also saw that Mark has figured out his games as far as the whole teleportation thing goes. Like, Angstrom thought he was going to get him again with, by trying to trick him into falling into one of his portals, and then he would have had him trapped. But Mark immediately, figures it out, like, almost instantaneously. He's like, I'm not falling for that again.
Mm-hmm. Like you did
So,
in that second episode?
What's that?
I don't know what episode it was that he got pulled.
That was last season towards the end. I want to say it was like the second to last episode. Yes, it was like the last 2 episodes were about his fight with Angstrom last season.
We get, I think you're right, because Angstrom's a smart guy. He may not have the upper hand now, but he's plotting against the technicians too. He's not just going to be subjugated by them and be like, okay, I'll do your bidding. He's going to have his own plans to try to break free and figure it out. And obviously he's going to be like, okay, I can't bring a bunch of, marks to try to attack him because they'll turn on me too. He needs something, that's dedicated to him. And the whole time while I was watching this episode, is it the Unimen? What are they called? I mean, the GDA was sending out those robots that
those zombie things. The Animen.
Animen, yes. And they were taking out some marks. I'm like, he may come with a whole crap ton of something like that. That, they're not their programming is to him. So it'll be interesting to see how he handles it, because you can't trust other villains. Villains always think they can team up with other villains, but they always lose because they turn on each other. So he's going to have to figure out something better than Invincibles. Or he'll maybe try to help the Viltrumites out, try to take Mark out. Or he'll team up with Invincible to fight against the Viltrumites to save Earth, because he's one of the idiots who lives there.
And those little orbs aren't going to help him either.
No
matter how many he throws at him.
Mm-hmm.
All of the resources that he wasted. I mean, how many of those orbs were coming out of his portals? I'm like,
right?
They need Doge there, seeing what he's spending.
They got to rebudget that money. That was wasted money right there.
Yeah, just thrown away.
So they don't really explain it in the animated series, at least so far. But just so you guys understand, the technicians that Angstrom is working with, they're considered another species, but I think the closest thing that I could compare them to, they're sort of like the Guardians of Oa in a way, but not like good. They've just advanced to the point where they're almost godlike beings, but they're not like quite on the level of like the Celestials, but they're up there to the point where like they can access different worlds, different timelines. That's how they're able to help boost Angstrom's power and help him locate the other Invincibles. And again, they don't really go into that, but that's the type of people they are.
It almost seemed like when I was watching it, their headquarters was like almost like Kang's, where it's outside space and
Yeah,
time. I
it
didn't know if
is.
that. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, they've gotten to the point they've reached a sort of level of intellect where they realize that it's safer for them to exist in a sort of realm where they can access other timelines and other worlds, but they're not in danger of them coming after them.
Excellent. So we should see
So
some good episodes coming up.
they also don't seem super concerned about the Viltrumites. And I don't know if that's because they're isolated or if they think they're just more powerful than them.
Or they just know that, what we learned, that there's only 50 purebloods left. They know they're
That's
just
true.
going to, fade away over time. They're not something their glory days are in the past.
Very true, yeah. I think we kind of gathered that from. I know that it was only like a really short minute, but I think we kind of gathered that from Conquest. It was like he was there to like, oh, I better check on how you're doing. Let me check on your progress. He didn't really care. He didn't. He would have just ignored it. He was there. He was ready to fight Invincible.
Yeah, he wanted to fight.
That conversation, I was like, why is Mark even reasoning with this guy? He's not
Right?
there to talk.
There's no point.
He's definitely not there to talk. He's there,
No,
he's
no.
there to take
Well,
care of
he's
business.
there to talk with his fists. That's what he's
And he
there for.
doesn't care that Mark's had a bad week. He does not care.
No.
This is
So
all
you
my
had a
fault. I
bad
don't
day.
care. Yeah.
Oh, well,
You fought some of your clones.
I'll come back. Take your time, clean up. I'll be back in a little bit. Yeah. So sorry to come in at such an inopportune time.
Right. That was the first thing on his mind. He was all just caring about others.
Oh Lord! It
I'm
kind of
surprised-
reminds me of like Princess Bride or something, where Wesley is laying there like, why are you healing me? Oh well, the prince is a very upstanding man, and he feels that it's not right to torture and kill you if you're already injured.
You gotta have him at full strength. I mean, that's what they were
Right.
doing. That's what they were doing with Omni Man.
Uh-huh. Yeah, oh, that's true. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, heal him up and take him out at full force.
Mm-hmm. The Viltrumite way.
Yeah.
And it will be interesting to see. Dave is right. The last we saw of Alan and Omni-Man was, leaving that prison and knowing they weren't going to come after him because of how few their numbers are. So,
I mean, the good half of that episode.
yes, the good half of that one episode, yes.
I just hope that when we see them again, they have done something. We don't pick up where they left off.
Yeah,
Hopefully
they're just flying through
Done.
space.
Right. I mean, we know they're flying through space and it's a long way, but we know they can go fast. So
Yep.
it's got to
Well-
be something that they
Well,
can.
my what's next to kind of tack onto that, Dave. My what's next to then would be, while I don't think they're going to fly in and save the day or help Mark in any meaningful way, I don't think we're going to end the season without seeing them again. I do think, like what you're saying, I think we'll probably see them maybe in an end credit scene flying, or maybe it'll be a little, like intercut episode. We'll see them arriving at the Coalition of Planets or something. But yeah, I do think we are going to see them at least one more time before the season closes out, because otherwise it would seem kind of silly to show them escaping and then that's it for the whole season. That would be a little weird.
And I think it makes sense for the show to have Mark stop Conquest somehow. And then the Viltrumites learn of it, send a force, and the Coalition's like, hey, the war is going to be fought at Earth. And if we have any chance, we better send everything we got to help Earth, because we may not have a better chance than this with, obviously Omni-Man, who's a full Viltrumite, Mark and Oliver, who are part Viltrumite, Alan, who has been, upgraded pretty high. And they also have the other Viltrumite that was with the Coalition of Planets that healed Alan and gave him the powers. So they're not going to have a better chance than if Mark does stop Conquest, and I can't see him like killing Mark. maybe he could take him captive or something, and they have to save him next season. I don't know, but I think it would make more sense to be like, okay, Conquest has been defeated. Now we're set. We got to go and take care of this upstart Earth and his, this half-blood Viltrumite, Mark Grayson. And I'm all for it. I'd love to see a huge battle. I think they've shown that they can do a huge, like entire planet battle pretty well. I thought they handled this really well. It was a lot of stuff going on, but the transitions and the editing, I thought they did a really good job of handling from scene to scene.
I agree.
I think, yeah, that Oliver, his part did not go the way I thought it would. I thought that he was gonna, he's still a little kid. He doesn't know restraint, and he's so much stronger than all these people. And I thought even when Mark was there, he wasn't going to be able to stop him. He was just going to be like, kill him because they need to be killed. And instead of like when he told Mark to kill him and Mark didn't do it, he didn't fly in there and do it himself. And then when Mark didn't do it, he didn't give him any crap for it, He was just like, okay, I understand why you did that, And then he wanted to kill, oh, geez, I forget his name, Jesse Pinkman.
Yeah, Powerplex.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he didn't kill Powerplex. And when he told him, all right, just hold him down. You're like, all right, he listened, you know what I mean? And that's part of the good character development they've had this whole season with Oliver.
Mm-hmm.
He's not just flying off the handle because he can't control his emotions. He's listening. And I think that's pretty cool.
So, speaking of Powerplex, like getting out and everything, Invincible and Adam Eve's business, like they're going out of business now, right? Like, I mean,
yeah,
their whole thing was protecting that prison, and it's destroyed, like a lot of it.
Invincible Inc. or whatever they called it. Yeah, they don't have a business anymore.
That's a 1-star on Yelp.
Well, and
That was
I thought
always a
too.
good name.
I
Invisible
really
Inc.
like Mark is being so stubborn with Walter Goggins' character. I can't think of his name. Cecil. It's like Cecil's like, listen, we know we're on the same side. Basically, we know it. We need to work together. I want you to lead the Guardians. He's like, not doing it. I'm never working with you. Blah blah blah. And it's like he's almost being so stubborn about it. He needs to realize he needs to work with him, and I think that he may figure it out at the end of this season. Like after the Conquest fight, and he finds out, he's fought Nissa. He's going to be fighting Conquest next week. All of these things. He's got to realize he cannot do this on his own, especially knowing that there's 49 more of them that are going to be coming and are probably stronger than Mark are. So he needs every ally he can get. He can't be picky about, oh, well, that guy kills people or he does things that I don't think is right. So I like the fact that he's very, I'm not going to work with you. I'm better than that. But I think very soon he's going to realize he needs Cecil and the GDA and anything they could possibly help him with.
I've got a question for you and for our audience as well. Do you think if Mark actually knew Cecil's backstory, knew from that flashback, like what all of us saw, do you think he would think a little bit different about working with Cecil? Because you're right, he is being very stubborn, but it almost seems like at this point that he's not really doing it for as much of a good reason anymore. Like, I understood in the beginning of the season, I get why he was acting the way that he did, but it almost seems like he's doing it, he's being stubborn for the sake of being stubborn. Like, his ego won't let him work with Cecil.
Well, I also think that Mark, even if he knew the backstory, would almost be, yeah, I'm not like him though. I'm not going to let this change me like it changed him. I'm still going to hold true because he hasn't had the experience that Cecil has had. But I do think eventually he will figure it out that, hey, this is bigger than me. This is bigger than anything that I could possibly imagine. So I'm just going to have to, work with anyone who will help me. It's almost like when you see in any comic book, villains team up with the heroes because there's a bigger danger out there. Like,
Or like the line that you said in the beginning, "This is the dumb world that I live on,"
Yep.
kind of situation.
yeah. We've seen in like Crisis on Infinite Earth and stuff when the villains are like, I'm helping you because this is going to destroy everything. And I want to rule the world, not destroy it.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of reminded me of Rex Explode's last, right before they started fighting Mark was, this is stupid. Yeah, well, this is stupid. Well, we're gonna do it anyway.
Yep. He's really come around. I mean, he went from being the character that I disliked the most to being probably one of my favorite characters. And I do appreciate the show for doing that, for, really flipping it on its heels and making it so he was finally a somewhat likable character. It seems like they did the same thing with Amber. She was very unlikable in season 1, and they kind of switched her character around too.
Yeah, almost like Kingslayer from Game of Thrones, when you like totally are like, he's the worst character. And then as time goes on, like you felt bad when Rex gave up his life to save his friends. You're like, wow, that's a sad day. And,
Knowing this show, you never know if he's coming back.
Yeah.
I hope he doesn't come back from this because we've talked about it. I wouldn't be surprised. Don't get me wrong. I've read comics my whole life. People have been utterly destroyed and they somehow come back. And I think if this was a comic book, he would in some way. But because this is a show, I think we've seen, unfortunately, the last of Rex Explode. I think that's going to be a sacrifice. It would cheapen it if they did bring him back.
Definitely would.
The other thing.
That's one thing that's missing from a lot of these TV shows or movies is when somebody makes a sacrifice like that. That's why I think, even though I know it's just an actor, it's not the same, character. I was still disappointed to see Marvel trot out Robert Downey Jr. because I know that he's not Iron Man, but it's like he died and it was a huge sacrifice and you made a huge deal of it. Like in that movie, you didn't even have an end credit scene because it would have taken away from those final moments, and you knew that. And so I think, with Invincible, as much as we've seen Rex Explode grow and change and become a more likable hero and become a hero, somebody who actually wants to save other people and do the right thing, it would be a disservice to him and to his character growth to see him survive this, because I think the sacrifice is like it's like the icing on his character development cake.
Especially with what, his history, when you find out he was sold into this, he could have been Homelander from The Boys, and he kind of was, he was not a good person in the first, but he grew and he became somebody who, was willing to make that ultimate sacrifice at the end to save, the team, save, Robot and Monster Girl and everybody else. I just thought that they did a great job with his entire story arc.
They did.
It's like the Han Solo arc, where Harrison Ford wanted to die at the end of The Return of the Jedi, but actually they did it this time with this character.
He wanted to die at the end of episode 5, and at the end of episode 6, and at the beginning of episode 7, and
well, he got halfway through the episode 7, so good for him.
I'm really surprised that he, in Brave New World, that he wasn't like, just kill me off in the beginning. No, Harrison, you've got to become the Red Hawk. Get someone else to do it.
You know what? Do that right at the beginning, and then I'll just go.
What is the rest of the movie going to be about? I don't know. Superman?
Not my problem, kid.
That would be Harrison for you.
Yeah.
And speaking of kids,
I'll give you 20 minutes.
One of the things, having not read the comics,
Mm-hmm.
we know that Viltrumites get stronger as they get older, and Oliver ages much faster than anybody else. So it's going to come to the point where he's going to pass Mark. And I don't know if the Viltrumites know of Oliver's existence. They might by this point. But they might be, we need to take him out sooner rather than later. And they may target like Conquest next episode may realize, obviously they frown upon these half breeds. They talked about how that was one of Omni-Man's many sins and disgraces was having these kids, and he may figure out, oh my God, this kid ages faster. He's going to be a real problem, a lot faster than Mark will ever be or anybody else. So I wonder if they go and target Oliver at some point.
They might target him as far as like, an enemy of the Viltrumites, but one thing that might make it where he's not stronger than Mark or even as strong as Mark. Do you remember what Omni-Man said when Mark came to visit him on the Thraxan planet?
He
No.
said a lot of things.
Yeah.
So one of the things that he was mostly worried about, out of all the things, he was mostly worried about that the Viltrumites were going to be upset that he mated with a lesser species.
Oh,
That was like his big hang-up. Not so much that he left Earth or anything like that. It was the fact that he spread Viltrumite DNA into what is considered a lesser species. And so my assumption is he laid that out to, let it be known that Viltrumites, while their blood is so pure that, if they mate with the right species, remember these guys are like space Nazis.
Yeah.
They mate with the right species, then obviously they're going to be super strong. But it could be the fact that maybe there's some sort of old Viltrumite lore that they're just like misunderstanding through their, muscle-bound dumb logic.
Since they've
It could
got
just
rid
be
of
that
all
there
their
are certain
scientists.
species that, yeah, it's very possible that Oliver won't actually become as strong, even though he does have the accelerated aging.
It'll be interesting to see how that all plays out.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like the Gazorpazorpians.
Speaking of that, minor 5-second tangent time. There are some screenshots from the next season of Rick and Morty, and old man Morty Jr. is supposed to make an appearance.
Oh, the one who aged for the Crow episodes.
Yeah.
Oh
No. The Gazorpazorp.
oh, his son.
Yeah. He named him Morty Jr.
Okay.
He's supposed to be back, and he's supposed to be like almost a grandpa now at this point.
Yeah, because they do age very quickly.
Yeah.
Just so you know,
And that was it for my tangent time. I just wanted to share that little moment with you.
to continue down this tangent time, I've been
Ooh.
playing Borderlands 3 with Matt. You guys remember
Yeah.
Matt? And one of the guys we fought was Mick instead of Rick. Oh, I forget the Morty character's name. But he looked like
Morty?
Rick. But it was Monty or something. I don't remember.
Okay.
But I'm like, oh my God, they're Rip. Oh my God, these guys are Rick and Morty. I'm like, I was cracking up.
So Rick and Morty, which are an obvious parody of Doc and Marty, and then you've got a parody of the parody. Okay, that's good.
Yeah, it was. I was laughing. We moment of silence after we destroyed them. We picked up the rifles and stuff, of course, but we were a little somber moment. But hey, I mean, once again, I think this episode brought us back a little bit to the Invincible that we've been used to. After a lull, yeah, it was. Oh, and Logan Slaughter says he never dies in the comics.
Who doesn't?
Rexplode.
Oh, is that who he's talking about? Okay.
I think so.
Yeah.
Oh, someone just asked who he's talking about. I believe he's talking about Rexplode because we did ask about that. So
Back.
would
Yeah.
be nice to know. I mean,
By the way, welcome to the chat, Logan Salick. I think I'm saying your name right. Good to have you on board. Welcome, fellow nerds.
yeah, we appreciate you guys coming on board. We've been talking about Invincible. What are your guys' thoughts on this episode, this season? We've started out good. This last episode was good. I'm hoping
Oh yeah.
the season finale is going to be, and with the way they set it up, I mean, ending with those two flying at each other was just like, okay, great. I got to wait a week now. I got to wait a week
Yeah.
for Daredevil Born Again and now for Invincible.
I got the Superman vibe, when he's fighting Apocalypse, and he says, he doesn't have to hold back. That's the kind of vibe I got from Mark there. And then all right, we're going to see that battle
Yeah.
next week. See
Mm-hmm.
how much power he actually has left.
Oh,
He's
and
going to damage all the cleanup he's been doing.
Right.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that. They're in downtown Chicago. It's like, dude, they just fixed all this stuff.
yeah, I guess according to Salik, I think we're saying that right. Rex does die in the comics.
Mm-hmm.
He sacrifices himself the same way in the comics. So
Yeah.
Logan may have been talking about somebody else, because who else were we talking about?
We were talking about Conquest. We're talking about Oliver.
Oh, Oliver too. Yeah.
Yep. So I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure who he's talking about. Never dies in the comic. I don't know.
Somebody who never dies is immortal, even though he dies constantly on the show.
Well, yeah. Once they figured out that they could revive him, yeah. Which wasn't that season one? Didn't the Muller twins, weren't they the ones who originally figured out how to revive him?
Yes.
I don't think Cecil knew that was possible until they did it.
Yeah, I believe it was the Mauler twins.
Yeah,
R.I.P.
right, because they were going to use the stolen tech that Robot gave them in order to. They were going to revive him and take control of him,
Yep.
and that did not work.
Did not go the way they wanted it to. No.
I imagine Captain America sitting down backwards on the chair. So, didn't go the way you expected, huh? But no, you are absolutely right. Absolutely right, Keith. This was nice. It was nice to actually see a good Invincible episode again. I was worried. I was getting concerned that, something was going on, that they had, I don't know, lowered the budget, or I couldn't figure out what was happening, but it seemed like we were getting a lot of, like, subpar episodes one after another. And I was so concerned because there was a lot of hype for season 2, so much hype that people were disappointed when they decided to split it in half the way that they did. And it was a bit disappointing when that had happened. And then we get to season 3, and it started off pretty strong, but then kind of nosedived really quick. And it's just now, right towards the end, starting to pick back up. And we were talking, I think, either earlier this week or last week, during one of our streams, we were talking about how there doesn't seem to be as much in the way of marketing for this. We aren't seeing a lot of people talk about Invincible.
We really aren't. And Salik says they are evil Invincibles, more action. Because in the comics, they were just going panel by panel. We never really see full-on fight like the show.
Okay.
I meant to say they gave them more action. Yeah, that was like the Invincible War in the comics was only a couple panels or one comic. And, they could have stretched this out a little bit more, but I think having it in one episode did it the best way to handle it. They showed the destruction.
I'm relieved in a way. Like I said, they ended last season with a big fight against Angstrom Levy, and I'm glad that they didn't drag it out for all of the final episodes in this season. I think that would have been overdoing it. I mean, yeah, he's a formidable villain, but the fact that they showed us towards the end of this episode that Mark's already kind of figured out his trick, I'm glad they didn't stretch it out unnecessarily.
Especially with what they did. I mean, bringing Conquest in at the end of this episode to,
Yes.
you know what? Almost every one of Earth's heroes is injured or dead, and now they have even a greater challenge. So, and like Dave said, Mark's like, I can finally just let loose. I don't have to worry about pulling my punches in any way. So it's going to be interesting to see that fight next episode. We may just see, Peter versus the chicken next episode, and it'll just be Mark versus Conquest for 45 minutes.
Just fighting each other the entire episode. No background music.
I would really enjoy that, actually. That'd be a lot of fun.
I probably would too, honestly. Just the audacity.
All right, so Lee says, how did you guys feel about Mark staying with Eve at the end of the episode instead of helping out the other heroes?
I didn't like it.
Me neither.
I think it sort of goes backwards in his character development because one of his big defining moments was standing up against his father. We see that like almost completely in a mirror when he's facing all of these other invincibles, all these multiversal invincibles who did stick with their father, who did conquer Earth, who did do all of these evil things. And then, we see our Mark. He stood up to Omni-Man. He said, yeah, you're my dad, but I'm going to try and save these people. And every single person that Omni-Man tried to kill, Mark attempted to save. It wasn't successful, but he still tried because it's part of his core personality to be a hero. He looked up to his dad, who he thought was a hero. He looked up to the Guardians as heroes. So it feels weird to see him being selfish. I get it from like a teenager standpoint or like a young adult, where, yeah, he's going to be thinking about, oh, I just want to hang out with my girlfriend, or, I don't care about, there are other people who can deal with it, but it feels like going backwards. It feels like Peter Parker before Uncle Ben dies. That's what this feels like.
And it gives him room to grow, and I agree with that, but I know when you look at it, and he's like, listen, people are getting destroyed out there, and you could help, and he's like, they know about this place, and I can't leave her alone. Millions of people are being, killed and hurt. They're not necessarily going to come after her if you're out there helping, and he's like, they're going to try to hurt me by coming here. Yeah, well, they're going to hurting a lot of people, and I do think it was his sort of immaturity and selfishness that caused him to do it. And while I was like, when he did it, I was like, I shouldn't do that. It does give them that avenue to grow and him become, more of a hero, because he is just a young kid. We can't forget that.
Yeah. Fair, I suppose.
What, 19? That's how old he's supposed to be?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, because he's graduated high school.
Like, just started college. Well, kind of. I think he dropped out.
Yeah.
Same thing Clark did on Smallville. All right. And they're very similar characters, so.
Mark needs some heat vision. That would be cool.
Well, yeah, I'm sure there's some skills he has yet to develop.
Well, we don't see anything from any of the other Viltrumites like that.
No. I'm just saying it would be cool.
No, it would. Oh, it would definitely. The what?
He's a half-breed. You never know.
That's. Oh, yeah, good point. The human part of him is giving him bonus. He's get X-ray vision.
Yeah.
Right.
Everybody
Cold
knows
breath.
Humans have heat vision and cold breath and whatever other bullshit power they give Superman.
Hey, take that back. We will not.
The atomic sneeze.
We will not disparage Superman on this.
You guys see that the tangent time a little bit here? Did you guys see that they're the Siegel family? Is it the Siegel family? Is trying to stop Superman from coming out?
Oh, I saw something about that. I didn't read the full article, but yeah, one of the Snyder bots was on social media saying that because there's this lawsuit, that's proof that this is a terrible Superman movie, and once again, Zack Snyder's gonna have to come and save the day. And I was like, I'm not even gonna. I didn't even bother to read the article because I thought the whole thing was BS. But who is it that's suing?
The Siegel family. That's the
Really?
inventor of Superman. Yes.
No kidding.
The creator of Superman.
Yeah.
Why though?
Just
I gotta feel
because
like-
I think they want.
Go ahead, Keith.
Oh.
They just want some of the profits from all of that, and because DC owns him, he was created by their father, and they just want a little more piece of the pie. And right now, all it's doing is stopping this movie coming out in certain countries.
Ah.
And
Okay.
DC's, Warner Brothers is trying to get it dismissed and all that, and I think it all just comes down to creators wanting a bigger piece of the pie for what they create, and I can't say I blame them. I mean, just because you're working for a company when you create something that popular, you should be entitled. That if they didn't create Superman, DC probably wouldn't be as big as it is right now. So they have a fair claim.
James Gunn doesn't seem worried about it, so I'm not going to worry about it. It seems like it's still going to come out on time. They'll probably just work it out. But I just want to draw attention to it.
Yeah, no, it's always good. Now, do you think Mark is going to kill Conquest in this fight?
Got that in the chat.
Yep.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't either. I think it's going
Uh,
to be a bloody battle, but he's not going to die.
I think he's grown enough. Like, I mean, I know that I was just making fun of them kind of going backwards on his character development, but I think that part of him has grown enough. Dave, you said earlier how he was going through that whole thing with Oliver, like you know, we're not going to kill him, hold him down. And I think that part of him is going to stay true. I think, and Keith and I were also talking about this in our last stream, that that seems to be the part of him that is staying true. He knows him, like other heroes, know that it's too easy. It's too easy to keep going forward. We were saying that with that's what we were talking about that with Daredevil. Sorry, not with Invincible. We were talking about that with Daredevil in saying that there are certain heroes that they go through. They're confronted with this. Yeah, I could kill the villain, but it would be too easy because what would stop me from doing it again and again? Batman deals with that all the time. So does Superman. Superman especially has to constantly pull his punches because he knows he could kill somebody. And so he's got to be extra careful not to.
And the way I always thought of it was Superman, and it kind of goes for Invincible too. He's got to realize he is so much more powerful than almost everyone else on the planet. If
Yep.
he starts killing people and deciding who lives and dies, I mean, they're gonna work. They're gonna not be able to trust him. I mean, they're gonna be like, oh, who is he to decide who should live and die? He just, like Superman knows, I can't, become judge, jury, and executioner all in one because then I just would rule the planet. I would have to.
But not just that. So I do think that's going to be the main part of it. The fact that Mark is going to be opposed to taking the life. But I think also this goes back to something I was saying earlier. I just don't think he's strong enough. I do think Conquest is going to be far stronger than him, and it's going to take other people helping out, whether it's, some of the other Guardians that are still able to. But I think he's going to need help. There's no way he can fight Conquest on his own, let alone beat him.
And I almost think that the GDA is going to get involved with that sonic weapon they used against Mark. Because even
Yes.
though that one broke in the Invincible War, they were like, "Hey, we need to get more of this made. We need, more help." So even though Donald said, "Hey, pretty much everything is decimated," they're probably going to try to get something that made because if it works against Mark, it'll work against the other Viltrumites.
So, question for the both of you. Does that mean that Cecil has improved on the design? Because in the earlier episodes, the only way that it worked was due to an implant they put into Mark. In fact, he had to ask Robot to get it out of him.
Well, I think they only did the implant. It works as long as it's near him, and having the implant in him would mean they could always near him. So I don't think it was necessarily the implant that made it, hurt.
Okay.
That made it hurt Mark. They just put it in him so they could use it anywhere. Because obviously they would have to have, speakers and everything else, whatever it is they need to do it near him. He could always fly away and be good. With the implant in him, no matter where he went, they could affect him.
And they did that in every universe.
I feel like if Cecil in other universes would have been smart enough to come up with this like sonic weapon, less of the Invincibles would have conquered Earth.
Yeah. Because it was all from that giant sea creature he fought.
Yeah, in Atlantis when
Yep.
when he thought he was going to have to marry the Atlantean queen.
Yes,
That was a funny episode. I enjoyed that one.
I did too. Well, any other what's next, gentlemen?
Not that I can think of. Pretty much summarized, broke down what happened. The only other thing that I think, that we're gonna see end up happening is, like I said, I don't think we're done in this season seeing Omni-Man and Alan. I think we are going to see them either show up on the Coalition of Planets or doing something. I don't think they're going to make it to Earth by the end of the season, but I do think we're going to see them whether it's during the episode, like parse throughout it, like maybe making a speech, like I am here with another Viltrumite, and he has agreed to fight against his fellow Viltrumites or something like that, or it'll be just like a little end credit scene or something, wrapping everything up.
And I don't want someone to come save Mark. I think
No,
this is
neither
Mark's
do I.
hero's moment where he stands up
What?
and defeats Conquest.
Let me take that back. I wouldn't mind seeing like Eve or some of the other Earth heroes help him out.
Yes.
It is his show, so ultimately he has to be the one that does the job. Salik has another question.
Let's see. Interesting take. How do you feel about Mark regretting not killing Angstrom when he had the chance because he was willing to do it when he said, "You've given me no other choice"? Once again, I think that is sort of his immaturity and his age. He's going to realize that, even though he said that, he's going to realize you don't kill. It'll be something that he'll learn because he felt terrible about killing him. And even though he said, I kind of wish I would, I think he does realize overall that he can't, take these villains' lives. It's just not something he should do with his power.
Right. No, I agree with that.
Because you're always given choices. I think that's one of the things that I've always, liked about Superman. He always finds a way to not, except in the Man of Steel movie, of course. But he always finds a way to save as many people as possible.
Except in the Man of Steel
and not
movie,
kill, so, that's... And it's okay, for characters that kill. It's how that character is. I think Mark's character is going to be more like Superman in the sense that he knows he can't kill. And I may be wrong, and he may kill Conquest at the end of this episode and, think he's doing the right thing and start feeding into that side a little bit. But I hope not. He's the main character.
And we've got another, Logan back in the chat. And there is an Invincible figure. Oh, and there is an Invincible figure. Would you buy it? I might. I mean, I do like my collection of nerdy memorabilia, so it's possible if I saw one that I liked. I'm not a huge fan of like the Funko Pop, so if it's like one of those, probably not. I know there are a lot of people that are really into collecting those.
I got tons of them.
Right, yeah. And that's fine. I'm just not into them. So if that's the type of Invincible figure, probably not. But if it's something like
Dr. Doom.
How dare you, Doug? Funkos are
give me
amazing.
something like that, sure.
Oh yeah. Those are both awesome.
Yeah, I would definitely buy an Invincible action
Funko
figure, statue,
Yeah.
Funko Pop, all
Oh
that.
yeah. Eventually,
Oh.
I'm gonna have a whole trophy room full of this stuff. So
I would buy it and leave it in the package. Oh yeah.
that's what I do.
And
I
I do.
never take them out.
Yeah, and one of the things that I do take them out just because I'm not doing it to collect them. I just like them. But I'm gonna read when this series is over. I'm gonna read the Invincible comics. Like it's
Nice.
much like House of the Dragon. It's like, okay, do I read the book and then, or do I save the book till after the show? I'm gonna, as much as I want to read the book to learn, I'm gonna wait till the show's over and then I'm gonna go through all those because
That's smart.
the show's great and I don't want to ruin the show now by reading the book. If I'd already read it, obviously it's fine because I had read all the Game of Thrones books that were out before the show started, and I was fine with it. So it's all just a matter of perspective.
So were we about to rate this?
Yes, we were.
Sorry, I had a malfunction where a dog got out, so I had to get up and go.
No, fun.
Yeah. But, all right. To be traditional, I
Yes,
will go first.
let's be traditional.
Okay.
Well,
Gotta
this
get another
episode
drink.
definitely brought it back from what it had been. Those previous two episodes, I kept thinking, they got so many other storylines. Why are they wasting time on some of this stuff? Not all of it, because, and I always forget Pinkman's name. What was it again?
Powerplex.
Powerplex. Jeez, I don't know why it slips out of my head every time. But that, now that was a good setup episode. It moved along a little bit slowly, but um, his storyline cannot be done. After that build up, and after he's a bigger figure than that in the comics, from what I hear. So I haven't read the comics, and sometimes I like that with a show where I haven't read the comics, and it's all new to me on the show. I like that. Not every time, but it definitely came back. It was, the Mark War, the Invincible War was pretty much the whole episode, and it was awesome. I really enjoyed it, and they brought it back to a spot. I'm gonna give this episode, after rating the previous two, I think I wasn't on last time, but I gave it a 4.5. In the previous episode, I think I gave a 5, maybe another 4.5. This is definitely back up there. I gave this one, I'm going to give this one a 7.5. I really enjoyed it a lot better. It's a big comeback. I hope it continues this way. I mean, next episode is going to be epic because it's the season finale. I thought it would involve Angstrom a lot more. Who knows? It still might, but I doubt it. But I think they're going the right direction again. So there's my rating, 7.5. What do you think, Doug?
I'm with you. I'm glad that they finally kind of turned things around because I was getting concerned. These past couple of episodes, like I said, weren't great. Weren't anything really to call home, about. And I know sitting here doing these reviews, it was almost like I was dreading having to talk about it again just because, it's one thing if it's bad and it's funny, so we get to like make fun of it and, poke fun of how bad it was. But these episodes they weren't so much, they were kind of boring. I think that's a good way. They were uninspired. They were a bit boring. They weren't up to the same level of creativity that we're used to with Invincible. So it was less that it was bad and it was hilariously bad to just that they were just bad because they were boring. And that's a bit of a shame, So I am glad that they finally turned things around. And now that you mentioned that you're kind of glad that you haven't read the comics, that made me think for a second. I'm like, I wish Keith hadn't told me to read the Secret Invasion comics because maybe if I wouldn't have read them, if I wouldn't have gone back and enjoyed them, then maybe it would have made watching that Disney Plus series maybe slightly better because I wouldn't have high expectations or anything.
And that was Special Investigation.
So I should go back and read the Special Investigation comics.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
They're still better than the show.
Written by a 12-year-old named Troy.
I almost colored within all the lines.
Yay.
Good job, buddy. And then the aliens came down, and then they gave the aliens powers of all the other aliens. I bet they did, buddy.
That's so
All
cool.
right.
But no, I was very happy to see them kind of turn things around with this episode of Invincible. I'm also really happy that we didn't spend the both this episode and the finale dealing with Angstrom Lee again. He's a great villain, don't get me wrong, but he's a bit of a one-trick pony so far. I mean, he's smart, but he's, let it go to his head. No pun intended, I promise. No pun intended. He has let it go to his head, and, so far, we saw him try to pull that same trick on Mark again, try and, slip him into the portal, and it's like, Mark may be kind of dumb and immature, but he's not that dumb. He's not going to fall for that trick again. Like, I mean, we saw him, he figured out those, aliens that kept invading in season 1. He figured that out their game pretty quick, and he knew what to aim for. So he's not going to fall for Angstrom's portal trick again.
He's not gonna
and
fall
I gotta say, what's that?
He's not gonna fall for the banana in the tailpipe.
Yes, exactly. Oh, I gotta go back and watch a movie now. I love Beverly Hills Cop. It's a classic.
It was definitely a classic.
But Yeah, no, I liked this. I thought it was good. I thought the flow was good. It didn't feel too short. It didn't feel too long. It felt like there were actual stakes. And yeah, I also liked seeing all the different variations, all the different takes on Invincible. It's nice to know that they all weren't identical and the same as one another. Like some of them were sort of like Kingpin in Across the Spider-Verse, where it's like, yeah, we're helping out, but here's the thing, it's because we want our family back. Oh yeah, sure, sure. And we can see like what Engstrom has clearly promised all these people. He's probably not going to hold up any of his bargain. He never planned on holding up his end of the bargain, but it is interesting to see that they aren't all just, yeah, we sided with Omni-Man and we conquered Earth. You know, they're all slightly different takes on, different timelines. Like it is truly the what if of Invincible. So, yeah, I think I'm with Dave. This was a nice turnaround. I'm going to give this also a 7.5. And I really hope that the season finale, the fight against Conquest, I hope it lives up to, being as good as it sounds like it should be.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. It was getting back to what I would like to call the Invincible we know and love. I mean, everything going on. I mean, we had so many little plot twists. We had, Earth just getting devastated. They didn't go light on it. Heroes getting killed and injured. Eve being incapacitated. Oliver getting involved. All the stuff. We saw the marks turn on Angstrom because they all wanted different things, and you kind of hit on it about all the different marks. Stephen Young did a great job voicing all the different marks, and just the inflection being a little different and just handling them differently was just spot on voice acting. It was so well done. And then you see Angstrom trying to take Mark out, and Mark learning, and Angstrom thinking the old stuff's still going to work. So we'll probably have Angstrom come back later with trying to do new tricks. But of course the technicians have turned on him, the Invincibles turned on him, so we don't know where that's going. And to finish it off with Conquest coming, and as we talked about, Mark, like, it's not a good time, and of course he doesn't care, and just seeing it end with, oh, I want to hit something with everything I got. It was like, okay, you have fired me up for the next episode. And
like, yeah, what a cliffhanger, right?
Yeah, that I was like, okay, we got to wait till next Thursday now. Great. But I expect, the season finale to just be great. And I think this was probably one of the better Invincible episodes. So I'm going to give this an 8.2. I really think they went out of their way and did a great job. And maybe it's because they lulled me into a sleep the last couple episodes and doing things, I don't want to say boring, but they were. They were not up to what Invincible has been the first two seasons and most of the third season. They were just, Powerplex could have been done so much better. Even if Jesse Pinkman just called somebody a bitch, that would have been great. So,
Been great.
But they definitely.
You're invincible, you bitch.
You killed.
You gotta have the pause though. And you gotta. It's invincible, bitch. Now, if they had done that as they pulled him away, the last thing he said was bitch, that would have been hilarious.
That would have been great.
And now, of course, this would have probably been an 8.5 if they would have had a cool title thing like they did in last week's episode.
Yeah, that would have made it even better.
But yeah, excellent. I don't know if anyone out in the chat would like to give us their rating. I definitely think we did a little better here. Now, we do have one more little thing to talk about.
Okay.
So, John Bernthal, I don't know how to say his last name.
Bernthal.
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 On his
Punisher.
On his upcoming Punisher special presentation. This is what he had to say. I'm getting the opportunity to tell the story that I think the fans deserve. It's going to be dark. Frank has no interest in breaking out of the darkness. It will not be Punisher light, I promise you that.
Ooh.
Nice. I wish they could do a whole series instead of just a show on that. But, you got to go with whatever idea you have.
Well, and I think we may get a Punisher series down the line, but I think they were probably telling him, right now we're Doomsday, Secret Wars, and all that. We'll get to your series, and he was like, I want to do, I got this little story. We can just do a one shot and get it out. And I think that's what they're doing, because I do think we will get. Punisher is too popular of a series and played way too well by John to not see a lot more of him. So I think they're just getting this.
I think part of it though is I think Disney is still scared. Like, they still seem to really be like, dipping their toes in the just in the water a little bit. Like, I don't know. Okay, well, we'll try Deadpool and Wolverine, but I don't know. I don't like it. All right. It worked this time, but I don't know about Daredevil. I guess we'll kind of try it. I know. We'll test it out with Echo first. We'll cram all the episodes. We'll drop them all at once, all at the same time. And if people don't complain, then maybe it'll be okay. And then it's like they're still so hesitant. It's like, I don't know. I really think it's got to be PG.
I don't know, man. I obviously wasn't here for the Daredevil review, but that quickly became the best show on television.
It was
especially that
good.
scene with him in the coffee shop or whatever when they were having that conversation. That's like Emmy worthy. That scene was incredible. He talked to him about getting shot in the face.
Oh yeah.
And you step out of line and I'm going to step back in line. That's some good stuff.
It is very good. One of the things that Keith and I were discussing during that review is that was actually part of the reshoots.
Was it?
Yes.
It was originally there.
Yeah, no, they had no intention on having Matt and Kingpin meet that early on. It was supposed to be towards the end of the series.
Oh my God. Well, they did
that's why I said it's like I swear they're just not confident in this stuff, and it takes other people who know this material better and are a little more daring to be like, no, you've got to listen to us. This is a better way to go about it.
And as
there's reasons. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and as these do good, like you said, Deadpool and Wolverine made, billions, and Echo did really well, and this. It should be doing well because everyone I've talked to is just loving
insane
this.
Reviews. People love this.
There are some of the MCU haters who are like, they ruined Daredevil, and they did not. They are doing a great job on this. Season 2 is already filming, and I have no doubts. And, we could be wrong. This season could completely tank after these first two. But right now, they're doing an incredible job with getting the feel of the Netflix series, but making it different enough that it's its own thing. And man,
and much like Batman, Daredevil has no reservations. He doesn't want to kill you, but he will beat you to within an inch of your life, but he won't kill you.
Yep.
And that's what made me think about it during the Invincible review. He's got to learn to do that too. But I was going to mention, that's Daredevil and Batman. That's what they do. They have no reservations about beating you up. Killing you, that's another thing. And I thought, what's going on when he dropped Bullseye when he dropped him off the roof? I was like, what just happened there?
Dude, that was so perfect when he all of a sudden Foggy's heart stops and he just kind of does it without thinking, just like I was like, oh my God, he's going to regret that decision for. As a Catholic,
it was almost like,
he's going to be guilty about that for the remainder of this series. Especially,
it was almost like for a brief instant, he was just thinking, "Well, I got nothing left to lose. Toss."
Yeah, that was
luckily he didn't kill him.
Oh, he wanted to though.
For the series and his moral compass.
Yeah.
And as we talked about, I don't know if you saw our thing, the number, the address of Nelson, Murdoch, and Page was 468, which was a comic book, The Secret Life of Foggy Nelson, where he faked his own death. So a lot of people are online saying, oh, Foggy's not really dead. And he has been confirmed to being in season 2, which I thought was yeah, like you fake your death, you usually don't bleed out in front of a bunch of other people.
Right.
Right. There's no way you can fake that. And he didn't even know it was coming. So, and Bullseye doesn't miss. So,
And again, he
no-
wasn't even originally in this, you know, in the show. At least not in that way. I think they were going to have a scene with him, but it was going to be played by a different actor, even. So,
Yeah, they weren't going to have Karen Page or Foggy in it as the actors that were in the Netflix series. I'm glad they changed their mind.
so glad that Disney fixed that because can you imagine, imagine trying to review Daredevil Born Again and the stuff that we just praised, and none of that was in it.
right.
I can't imagine what. Well, and I don't know how true this is. There's been so many reports. Like Rob Liefeld said it was a comedy. It was not a comedy when they.
I can't imagine that.
But one of the things I read was that before they changed it, he was not Daredevil the entire first season.
Really?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I'm like, if
I
that's
remember you saying
true,
that. Yeah.
that would be a big mistake. I'm glad
That's
they did
insane.
that.
It would be dumb.
I mean, you can show him being remorseful of things he's done and not wanting, trying to give up the thing. You don't do it for an entire season. People don't tune into Daredevil to see Matt Murdock. It's good when Matt Murdock has great scenes and things, but you want Daredevil.
Can you imagine them trying to pitch this? Like, all right, here we go. We're bringing it back. We got the same actor. We're going to do Daredevil. But hear me out. Awesome twist. He doesn't put on the costume. Oh, but so he puts on is this reminiscent of the first episode? He's going to put on a black mask? No, he's not Daredevil at all.
He's trying cases.
And people are going to want to watch this.
And he's...
And you're like, wait a minute, you should write for She-Hulk season 2. Get out of here.
So what does he do? He goes to court sometimes.
Well, that last scene, he wasn't wearing the Daredevil outfit, but he still took care of business.
Yeah, but
So
I
maybe they
think
meant that is
he's
what they
going
meant.
to know that. I think next episode we're going to see the different outfits and him choosing one to wear. And hopefully, as I've said 100 times, I hope in season 1 of Daredevil Born Again we get the double Ds. Because, we need that emblem on his chest.
You want those double Ds?
Those banging double Ds.
Some sloppy natties.
Daredevillettes. He has cheerleaders.
I'm indifferent towards that. I think, on one hand, I like some of the well done comic accurate costumes, but on the other hand, when they look like they're straight out of the comics, I could never imagine them recreating Hawkeye's costume out of the comics. That I think would look too ridiculous.
It would.
I just cannot see how that would work.
No, I agree.
And I don't know, but I feel like having the giant double D's on his chest, that might... it's a little too on the nose, I feel like. I don't know. Who would that be for? He mostly fights crime in the dark. What does he need that for? He can't see it.
Right.
Whoa, Doug, come on, dude.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is it in
Right.
Braille? Is that what he's...
Yes. Well, if with his heightened senses, he can read just by touching the paper.
Oh, okay.
Not that he'd be touching his chest nonstop. Hey, double D's, yeah.
Hey,
Oh,
double
yeah.
D.
I love feeling those double D's.
He's like, I just got knocked out by with 14 knives in my chest by Bullseye, but hey, double D's, man.
Double D's.
Dude, I want to watch those first 2 episodes again before Tuesday night, and just to see him throwing the pool balls around and knocking people out. I mean, that was the way they handled Bullseye in season 3 was so great, and it carried over to this. You would think it would be, it's pretty difficult to write a guy that never misses, but they've done a great job with it in this. It's,
I just love how psychotic he is. That's great.
Yeah, we talked about him smiling, patting Daredevil on the roof, I just killed your buddy. And I'm like, oh my God. The guy, Wilson Benthal or Berthal or whatever his name is,
John Bernthal?
No. Wilson.
Oh.
The guy who plays Bullseye.
The guy
Wilson starts with a B. I don't know his name. But he tried out for Daredevil, too.
Interesting.
Yeah. Now, I do think they got it right with Charlie Cox. He is
They definitely got it right.
tremendous. But, man, he's great as Bullseye. I'm so glad. We talked about it on our Theory Palooza that I don't want him to kill Bullseye. When he threw him off the roof, I was like, okay, I didn't want him to kill him, but I get it now. But then he lived, and I was like, oh, yes. He needs to escape from jail soon. He needs to make life miserable.
For a second there, when he woke up and he was like, his heart started beating and you could hear it. I was like, don't let him get up and walk away. I thought maybe that he was going to get up, and I was like, he's not super powered. Come on, don't get up. Don't have him get up. I'm glad they did. And it took him a whole year to heal, which was also cool.
Yep. Yeah, they didn't race. He didn't stand up and start shooting people.
Mm-hmm.
But I still don't know why Foggy in particular, just because it's his buddy.
Well, no, Bullseye doesn't kill people just to kill people. Someone hired him to kill Foggy.
Yeah.
Because remember, he was going to Foggy's apartment, and the only reason we know is because the guy he stashed there was calling, like, someone's here trying to kill me. He was going after Foggy. So I think part of the mystery we're going to find out in this season is who hired him to kill Foggy. What did Foggy do to deserve, an assassin coming at him? And my first thought was, of course, Kingpin. But he told Daredevil, and I don't think he would lie and say I didn't do it.
And even if he did, I think Matt would have been able to tell.
Yes, he would have, absolutely.
Absolutely. Say what you want about Wilson Fisk. He doesn't lie.
Yeah,
If he intends to hurt you, he will tell you.
I mean, he's not a big cheesesteak fan.
Get rid of this. I don't want it here. I prefer to have my lean chicken breast. Clenching my fist in anger.
Well, he did send somebody to Philly to get that.
Remember the read.
Cheesesteak.
Read.
That's right. Everybody remember to read. Read comic books, read graphic novels.
That's right. That's the important stuff.
Oh,
Remember,
I cannot wait
if
for
you
you to
don't-
show him these 10 years from now.
He's got to wear that
just
shirt a week from
assume you
tomorrow.
In Dogman, you become dumb if you don't read books in Dogman. It's weird.
Oh, yeah?
So read books so you don't end up like the people in Dogman.
That's right. Good advice. Thank you, buddy.
Bye,
Reading is
everyone.
fundamental.
All right. Should we find somebody?
Bikini bottom at the bottom of the
Hooray.
ocean.
Yes, I think so. I think we should. And by the way, while we are looking for somebody to raid, just so everybody is clear what is happening, this is a little something that we do over on Twitch. It's where we find another channel that is currently live, and we send all of our lovely viewers over to hang out with their channel as we end our stream. Now, there's kind of, sort of something you can sort of, kind of do like that on YouTube, but it's not nearly as smooth. It's dumb, so we just don't. But in the meantime, if you are watching us on YouTube, thank you very much. We appreciate it. We love having our audiences on both Twitch and YouTube. And if you're on YouTube, make sure that you like us, that you subscribe, that you follow, that you share, that you I don't know, whatever other buttons YouTube has. Do all of
All
those.
the fun stuff.
It costs
Do all the
you
fun
nothing, and it helps our small channel out tremendously. So we do appreciate
That's
it.
right. That's right.
And it looks like Lara Loopsy is on playing a little Destiny too. So, what do you guys feel
I'm down
about
with
rating
that.
Lara Loopsy?
Yeah,
We can do
sounds good to me.
All right. Okay, and it is intended for mature audiences. So if you're on Twitch, make sure that you're mature, I guess.
All right.
Oh, I gotta go then.
Yeah. But once again, thanks everybody for coming out. We will be back Thursday night talking about Daredevil episode 3. We will not be back next Sunday. My son's birthday on that day, and we're going to be, and then obviously St. Patty's Day. So we'll be back the following Thursday talking about Daredevil episode 4 and the Invincible season finale, which We hate having to wait that long to talk about it, but, it's the things you do. So make sure you come back and see us all, and we will see you guys Thursday night.
Hey fellow nerds, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more of this stuff, make sure that you check out our Twitch stream. We try to do these live Sunday or Monday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Keep an eye on our social media to find out when you can join in live and chat with us during these live streams. Also, as usual, don't forget to check out our other social media. Add us at Twitter, comment down below, and we'll see you next time right here on Not Your Status Quo.